Did Francisco give you any advice when you got called up, especially moving into the shortstop spot?
Mira, sí, desde que llegué el primer día me trataron como que si yo estaba en mi casa. Sí, llegamos, iba a comenzar el juego y Lindor me llama y me dice, ven acá, ¿cómo te sientes? Yo sé que estás nervioso porque yo pasé por esto. Y me dice, nada, es el mismo juego, trabaja duro, corre duro, juega duro.
Hey, welcome to Meet at the Apple. I'm Vito Calisi. That's Jonathan Barron. We're here with Luisangel Acuña. And Luis, last year we sat with you here. Really different situation. How are you looking forward to this year? Getting a chance, called up last year in a huge moment, all the pressure in the world, you deliver, coming back in for your second year in the majors.
Mira, sí, esto yo lo vengo trabajando de ligas menores.
It all started in the minor leagues last year. Thankfully, I was able to get called up to the big leagues, but none of this would be possible without the minor leagues. First and foremost, with the work that I put in, my routine, just my overall dedication, just to be able to continue to get better each and every day. And then I was able to get called up, and I was able to do my job.
And you came up when Francisco Lindor had the back issue in September, and you really filled in his spot seamlessly. You were great. Did Francisco give you any advice when you got called up, especially moving into the shortstop spot?
Mira, sí, desde que llegué el primer día.
From the moment I got called up, I arrived to the stadium that day and I felt like I was home immediately. Right before I went to go play my first game, Lindor pulled me aside and he said, hey, I know you're nervous because I've dealt with this situation myself. I also felt those same nerves. It's the same game. Play hard, run hard, do everything at 100%, and things are going to go well.
Are you somebody who the pressure is almost part of your game and you're able to adapt to it? Because looking at it like, you're somebody who you have a last name people look at. You were part of a big trade, and then you come in when the team is in this major playoff race. Dealing with all the pressure that you've had this whole time in player development, is this something that you felt like you were almost built for this moment?
Mira, sí, yo creo que eso viene desde que yo llegué.
That came when I got called up. The players the day in Philadelphia, the players were the ones that were kind of building me up. They made me feel like I had been there for a while I was hitting BP, while I was taking grounders. They were the ones that were helping me there because I was nervous.
Where were you when you got the news that you were being called up, and who's the first person that told you?
Mira, ese día estábamos jugando contra Boston.
We were playing the Red Sox affiliate, and I got to first, and I told the first base coach, like, I'm gonna ask for a day off because I'm a little worn down. So I spoke to Dick Scott, and yeah, he agreed to give me a day off, and then I went home. I was playing video games. I was playing Call of Duty with my friends, and then I got a phone call from Dick Scott, and he said, "Hey, are you okay?" And at first, I thought I had done something wrong. I thought I was in trouble, but then he told me, and so I told him, yeah, and he said, "Well, good. Then tomorrow you're going to the big league." So yeah, that was the first call that I got. I didn't even believe it. I thought I was dreaming at that point.
Yo pensé que yo estaba soñando.
Now, I know that when you came up, you said something about the lights in the Major League Stadium being brighter and helping you see the ball better. And you really kind of performed better in the major leagues than you did at AAA at points during the season. What was it about getting to the bigs and the stadium and the environment that helped you have the success that you did? Because you were great when you came up.
Mira,
The moment they called me up, I didn't do anything different. I didn't change my style of play. I didn't do anything different at all in the way that I prepared myself. Thank God everything came out the way that it did, and I had success. Like I did say last year, I was able to see the ball a lot better when I got called up there. I don't know if it's because of the lights. I don't know what it is, but I was able to see the ball much better.
Then we move into the offseason this year. Obviously, Mets fans' attention was all mostly on one person. Everybody was on Juan Soto watch. Were you also keeping up? Were you on Twitter trying to see what was happening, hoping he was coming here too?
Mira, sí,
yeah. Once Juan Soto became a free agent, everybody obviously knows the type of talent that he is, and everybody kept talking about it. I just said I hope the Mets sign him so I can be able to play alongside a superstar like Juan Soto.
You, in a very short amount of time, accomplished a lot with the Mets, and you were part of some celebrations. You were out there when the Mets clinched against the Phillies. You had a huge home run against Rangers Suarez in a big game the Mets won in late September. ¿Cuál es tu momento favorito in 2024?
Yeah, my favorite moment was when I hit my first home run. That was definitely my favorite moment.
All right, peek behind the camera. There was a translator here the whole time. John just whipped out some Spanish. Luisangel, 1 to 10. How is the kids' language skills?
De 1 al 10, como ¿Cómo
El
es el
español.
idioma?
Nueve.
¿Cómo es?
No, not
Sí, el
nueve.
español de él.
No, not nueve.
Como cuatro, sí.
Yeah, it's a quattro. It's a quattro. I'm not gonna lie.
Do you remember making fun of him last year for his Spanish and deep voice?
En la entrevista que hicimos ya. Sí, sí.
Dia fotografía. Hola.
Sí. Yo recuerdo, sí recuerdo.
Hey, I got a question for you. The number 2. I know a lot of fans think that you wear it for some overrated shortstop that used to play in New York, but that's not actually who you wear it for. Can you tell fans why you wear the number 2?
Mira, en realidad yo no sé, yo desde que juego profesional, yo miraba al
Yeah, so growing up, Alcides Escobar was actually one of my favorite players. And he wore number 2 when he was in Kansas City. So when I was in when I was in A-ball, I asked the club. I said, hey, I want to wear number 2. And as I kept rising in the minor leagues, I would ask them for the number 2. But when I got here to the major leagues, the number 2 was just waiting. I didn't ask anybody for it. So yeah, I was able to stick with the number.
Después yo llegué y ya tenía el número 2 ahí.
You're gonna make number 2 yours. Number 2, you're gonna be the number 1 New York baseball player to ever wear number 2.
Hopefully, amen.
How much time did you spend with your brother in the offseason? I know late last year the Mets played the Braves. He wasn't playing, he was hurt, but you guys were still able to be on the big league field together for the first time, which I'm sure was really cool. But how much do you guys hang out during the offseason?
Mira, yo creo que
Honestly,
desde
if
que
it was up
termina
to
la
me,
temporada,
we'd spend the entire offseason together. Right after the season ended last year, I went down to Atlanta and I spent time with him. And then I went to Venezuela because obviously I had to go play in the Winter League. But and then at one point he went down to Venezuela and we would go to the beach. We would get together. But yeah, I would say maybe 90% of the time we spent together in the offseason.
Let's talk about game 161. You haven't gotten to play against your brother in a playoff game, but game 161 was, I mean, brother versus brother. Obviously, Ronald wasn't playing, but being in that situation where you guys were both on these teams trying to go to the playoffs, and then you get to celebrate together. What was that whole day like?
Mira, sí, yo no me lo esperaba.
No, so when I got called up, I looked at the schedule right away and I saw that we were playing Atlanta. I enjoyed it a lot. I knew he wasn't playing in that time, so I'm thankful for him for going to the stadium to watch me play. We were able to celebrate as with the Mets. Obviously, I was able to celebrate with my teammates, and then I ended up going to his house to go celebrate with him.
Who's stealing more bases this year? You or Ronald?
He told me that this year he might not steal as much, but I think I'm going to beat him.
So I know in the past you guys had a little bet that you would make about who would have more steals. If he's telling you now that he's not going to be running as much, obviously he's dealt with some lower body injuries. Are you guys still making the bet? It sounds like this is the perfect time for you to make the bet because you're stealing at least 60, 70 bags this year, right?
Mira, sí, el año
In years past, he would say, if I steal more bases than you, you have to give me whatever I want. If you steal more bases, I'll give you whatever you want. But yeah, no, this year, I'm definitely going to pass him up.
Este año sí, yo lo voy a ganar.
I remember last year when we had our conversation at the end of the interview, you actually asked us to stop because you wanted to just say hi to your mom. You're very close with your mom, right?
Sí,
Yeah,
claro.
for sure. No, I'm super close to my mom. Obviously, my mom was the one that raised me. When I was a kid, my parents separated, so I stayed living with my mom to have a great relationship with her.
And your mom was the first person you called when you got called up to the majors?
Yeah, so
Mira, yo la
I
llamé.
called her crying, and she didn't know what was going on, and she said, "What's going on?" And I couldn't believe it, but I told mom I got called up to the big leagues, and then she started crying.
At Citi Field when you had some big hits, or I think maybe even when you walked up, I think I heard Hakuna Matata, the song playing. You used it as your walk-up song, right?
Sí, yo la...
Yeah, so my first game I used a song by Mora, which is a Puerto Rican artist. But then fans kept tweeting about Hakuna Matata. So then I said, you know what, like there's a song that's named that, so I'll play it, and that's what I ended up doing.
So first of all, good job, fans. Are you going to maybe keep that, or are you going to go back to something else for 2025?
I don't know. We'll see what happens, but I'm leaning towards keeping it.
Well, thank you guys for listening. Thank you so much, Luis, for joining us. You can follow this podcast on Apple and Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm on Twitter at Vito F. Khaleesi. John is at JMB9191. Luisangel, thank you so much. Best of luck this year.
Thank you, man.